Monaco authorities was going to stop the most glamorous and prestigious Grand Prix of them all. Well, thankfully, that's been resolved, and here we are in this unique round-the-houses setting for round 4 of the World Championship, hoping this year for a full-length Monaco Grand Prix, because last year's race was controversially stopped due to torrential rain, giving victory to Alain Prost in his McLaren just as he was about to be passed by Ayrton Senna in his Toleman. Well, after that, Toleman had to withdraw from racing, but now there's a dramatic twist to the Grand Prix wheel, with spirits going out and being replaced by the Toleman team, who've been out of racing for the strange reason that they haven't been able to get tyres. Alex, you had a supercar last year. You've got an even better one this year, but you've missed 3 Grand Prix and you've missed a lot of testing. This is surely going to put you back a long way.
Yeah, we've missed about 3,000 testing miles, and it's like starting from scratch. We've got new tyres, which we know nothing about. But, I mean, that's part of the job of motor racing. It's an uphill fight, it's a struggle, it's a highly competitive world, and we've got to get on top of the job.
John, out of Grand Prix racing all last year, but back in the Toleman team this year, we thought you must be very disappointed not to be driving at Monaco.
Yes, I am, Murray, because when I joined Toleman, I knew the situation, of course, but when they finally managed to get their tyres and go motor racing, I find it very disappointing not to be a part, or not to be the driver, and you're coming down to Monaco. It's a disappointment to be here as a spectator, not as a driver.
True to say that you've been frozen out by finance?
To be truthful, I don't know what the reasons are, because I haven't really met people who are now involved with Toleman. I'm hoping to do that this weekend and to establish some kind of clarification as to what my potential involvement will be with the team as it now stands, but so far I haven't been able to do that.
Sure, I'm very pleased. It's going to be difficult here because we never test the car, and it's going to be very difficult to set up the car around Monaco. But we hope to do well, to improve during the year.
Well, Teo Fabi made it onto the grid just 20th out of 20. And in pole position for the 3rd time in 3 races, it's Ayrton Senna. Mansell is in 2nd place, Alboreto 3rd, Eddie Cheever in 4th place, Alain Prost, last year's winner, in 5th position, and 6th on the grid, it's Thierry Boutsen. Elio De Angelis is leading the Drivers' World Championship ahead of Michele Alboreto, with Patrick Tambay in 3rd position, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna tying for 4th place. Now in the Constructors' Championship, JPS Lotus-Renault are leading with 25 points, Ferrari 2nd, McLaren in 3rd position and Renault in 4th place. And the good news from Monaco after last year is that although the skies are overcast, the course is dry, the weather is dry, we've had a dry practice, and you look into the eyes of Michele Alboreto, who is in 3rd position in the Ferrari and 2nd position in the World Championship. Now there is the fastest British driver. He's on the front row of the grid, a staggered row, and it is, of course, Nigel Mansell, who led the Monaco Grand Prix last year in his JPS Lotus. This year he's in a Williams Honda, and as last year he's 2nd fastest after practice, 1 minute 20.5, and now you look at the man who, for the 3rd race in succession, and good luck Clive incidentally, is a message to Clive Chapman, who is Colin Chapman's son, who's sitting his finals in engineering at University College London next week, a message from the Lotus team, and no doubt from Ayrton Senna as well. Directly in front of me, Derek Ongaro, the British official starter of all the Grand Prix, watching the competitors getting into line, watching for those notices to be organised for them to show the course is clear. 78 laps. Up to the notorious Sandavot, and the first men are through. Johansson is through. it's Townbay, Patrick Townbay. He's got no further in the 1985 Grand Prix than he did in 1984, because at this very corner last year, Patrick Townbay went off. He went into René Arnoux' Ferrari, and he stopped again. And it's Senna leading. In second position is Nigel Mansell. Then it is Michele Alboreto as they go round the portiere, and Senna has done exactly what he wanted to do. That's Berger. Berger is out of the race in the Arrows on lap 1. So 2 men of the 20 who started are out of the Monaco Grand Prix before 1 lap is even completed, and they stream through the chicane with Eddie Cheever well up. 18 contestants left. And now Senna will be piling on all the power he can to try and get a breakaway, with Nigel Mansell in second place, Michele Alboreto in third position in the Ferrari, coming through to complete lap 1 out of 78.
And Alan Prost is already in fourth place. He was very fast in the warm-up this morning. He was quickest. And Alboreto having a look. Alboreto through. Michele Alboreto gave it everything he could on the braking maneuver. He got past Mansell, and he had a big snake. He locked his rear brake. The car went a little bit all over the place, but he's through and okay. And there is Alboreto now chasing.
And Stefan Johansson, who didn't qualify very well after all sorts of problems, as you can see, in the pits, because he was involved in that coming together on the first lap. And so now it is Ayrton Senna leading, and Michele Alboreto trying to prevent the Brazilian from making the break in the early part of the race that he so very much wanted to do. Senna led by 1.7 seconds at the end of the first lap. 3 drivers already effectively out of the race: Berger, Townbay and Johansson. Senna leads. The man who won at Portugal was leading at San Marino until he had problems running out of fuel. De Angelis then took second place, and there is the pile-up behind the first 2 cars as the leader goes round the La Rascasse. Senna, by the way, has got a special low first gear which he had flown in last night, and the gap at the end of the second lap between Senna and Alboreto is still 1.7 seconds. And Prost is going up into third position. Prost is third now, and Nigel Mansell, who's dropping back, and you see coming towards you the red and white Barbara McLaren. So it's the JPS Lotus-Renault of Senna leading. Alboreto, the Ferrari, is in second place. There he is, and he's closing, and Prost is third.
And Nigel Mansell, I should say, is driving very sensibly, because it seems that he's not quite up with the pace. And one of the fears that a lot of the drivers had, and the pundits around the circuit, was that Mansell might hold people up and allow the leaders to get away if they could. And here we see the first corner, and you see Senna going through, Prost coming down the inside, squeezing inside, a fairly risky maneuver. But by and large, they got through. And there's the little bit of the messy bit with the Renaults going off, and that's Townbay, the car damaged. But Mansell is being very good. He let Prost go through then, which was sensible if he can't keep up.
Well, it was some 6 seconds between Alboreto and Prost previously. I've got the stopwatch running on the gap now. And as Prost goes by, it's 5.5 seconds. So Prost is gaining fast. Cheever is still in 4th position. De Angelis is up to 5th. Lap 6 then. Senna, Alboreto, Prost gaining fast in 3rd position. Then Eddie Cheever, 4th in the Alfa Romeo. An absolutely rejuvenated Alfa Romeo, because it has the new Bosch Motronic engine management system on it. They've improved the handling. It was very quick in practice, and Eddie Cheever is a happy man this year for the first time. And as you see, that time of 1 minute 24.7 by Michele Alboreto, the fastest lap of the race, has, as I forecast, shattered Patrese 1982 lap record. It is nearly 2 seconds faster. But Senna is making the pace. He's keeping a healthy gap. in racing turns between himself and Alboreto, and giving Prost the chance to catch the two cars in front. And there is the little Frenchman. Cheever 4th, De Angelis 5th, Rosberg 6th, down to 7th place has gone Mansell, 8th is Boutsen, 9th is De Cesaris, 10th is Warwick, 11th for Tracy, 12th is Lauda. And there is De Angelis catching Cheever, 4th and 5th. The gap, Prost is now dropping back a bit, he's 5.9 seconds behind Alboreto.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen anybody overtake there before. And that was a spectacular overtaking manoeuvre by De Angelis. In fact, I think Cheever's probably in trouble because he slowed down and Rosberg went through as well. So I think Cheever's day is coming to some sort of an end.
Yes, Elio De Angelis up to 4th place, and he's got an enormous amount of needle as Jonathan Palmer goes past in 18th position behind Martin Brundle. And look at this as Elio De Angelis takes Eddie Cheever in the Alfa Romeo. The Italian driver passes the Italian car, and up into 4th place goes De Angelis.
So I might revise that view because, of course, Cheever then lost so much speed through there that it allowed Rosberg, as you see now, to come around the outside. So I said I thought he was in trouble. I think what happened, in fact, having seen that action replay, is that De Angelis jumped him and took him by surprise, and that caused the loss of momentum that allowed Rosberg to get past as well. So there is Rosberg around the swimming pool section. There is De Angelis.
Race order, lap 9, Senna leads, Alboreto second. In 3rd position is Prost. In 4th position now, De Angelis. So both the JPS Lotus-Renault cars are in the first 4 places. In 5th position, in 5th place is Keke Rosberg, and Cheever driving into the pits, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's gone out of the race. Eddie Cheever then, who started off in such an optimistic mood, is finishing the race in a state of acute pessimism to join Stefan Johansson, Patrick Torbay and Gerhard Berger, who are out on the 9th lap. Cheever being pushed in. Boutsen, De Cesaris and Warwick, 7th, 8th and 9th, coming down to the station hairpin.
And that's Lauda just came into the picture then in the background, and Lauda is now closing fast on this group of 3. But that's going to be very interesting because it's going to be extremely difficult for Lauda to get past because, as we've said before, the circuit is so tight that without the driver in front of you making some sort of an actual mistake, there really isn't a place to pass unless you want to shut your eyes and take your chances.
Lap 12, Senna is now 4.1 seconds ahead, and Alboreto is 5 seconds ahead of Prost in 3rd position, 4th De Angelis, 5th Rosberg, 6th Mansell. De Angelis all on his own, and there is the charger, the world champion Niki Lauda, and good news for Toleman fans because Teo Fabi, who just qualified, is going extremely well. He's in 14th place out of the 18 people who were running at one time. After Torbay went out at the beginning of the race, and Johansson, and Lauda is closing fast.
Well, the pattern of the race is now definitely developing. Ayrton Senna, taking it reasonably steady up front, is now proving a little bit too fast for Michele Alboreto, who's some 3 or 4 seconds down on him, and there's that fearsome battle in the 7th place with Lauda about to catch them and to make that a 4-way battle. But Senna is now clearly establishing himself in front. Alboreto is dropping back a little bit, and Prost is really making no impression on Ayrton Senna. He's racing very much level with Alboreto. He's some 5 seconds behind.
And there's a change of lead because Michele Alboreto has passed Ayrton Senna right in front of our position here, with Lauda catching up fast.
Yes, and Ayrton Senna's in trouble because there was a lot of smoke coming from the back of his car, so Ayrton Senna looks to be in engine or turbo trouble. So,
well, that is the sensation of the race so far. Ayrton Senna, who led in such a distinguished way, has lost the lead. There you see Alboreto going away. And now Alain Prost in the red and white car is right up with Senna, who signals to Prost to go past. The Frenchman does so. And now on lap 14 out of 78, Ayrton Senna is touring in, I suspect, to retire. And now Alain Prost, last year's winner in those dreadful weather conditions, has got to set about trying to catch the man who has always been the favourite for this race, Michele Alboreto.
yes, and we had a good picture then of the smoke coming from the back of Senna's car, and I would suspect that is a blown turbo.
Well, whatever it is, Senna's race is effectively finished, the second race in succession. But now we keep a very careful eye on Niki Lauda. You will have noticed probably that he's already passed Riccardo Patrese, and now the gap between Michele Alboreto, who has completed 14 laps, and Alain Prost, who is going through, is 7 seconds. There is the new race leader, 3 race victories in the past. And Elio De Angelis, of course, is up into 3rd place. That's the World Championship leader. And De Angelis, who in the past has been consistent rather than a race winner, is leading the World Championship with now Keke Rosberg up into 4th place. Nigel Mansell is in 5th position. And there you see Ayrton JPS Lotus-Renault in the pits with the engine cover and the cockpit cover up off him, while they try to see what the damage is. And as ever, Senna sits imperturbably in the car.
Well, up at the front, we've got pretty much a stagnant situation at the moment. There is Prost going through around by the swimming pool section, and he's really not beaten. There's Alboreto now. He's about 7 seconds clear of Prost, and they seem to be fairly stalemated. There's not much change in the gap, so Alboreto is fending Prost off, but Prost may be just looking after his tyre. Well, I said earlier that he was on a marginally soft compound, and he needs to give it a good... If that is the case, he'll be more concerned about nursing his tyres for the first 20 or 25 laps before he starts charging. And he's got Alboreto very much in his sight. He knows where he is. 7 seconds away is not a big gap. There's a long way to go. And Prost is driving very maturely these days. He's thinking carefully, which is how he was first across the line in Italy, although unfortunately for him the car was underweight, which has nothing to do with him, but he drove a very intelligent race.
And that's Piquet's car, and Patrese going off. Riccardo Patrese in the Alfa Romeo, and this is lap 17, and Piquet and Patrese both out, and that is Fabi's car. So Piquet, Patrese and Fabi in a tremendous coming together at Saint-Devote, all out of the race. Now, how are they? Well, the cockpit of the Brabham is empty. The cockpit of the Alfa Romeo is empty. And that was Nelson Piquet trying to get through on the inside at Saint-Devote.
Well, as I saw it then, we'll see a replay, I hope, in a moment. And that is Alboreto. So Alboreto has spun on the mess. Presumably, I should think they put some oil down. So Alboreto, there goes Prost through into the lead. So Alboreto has spun his lead away in all that excitement. But Piquet was definitely alongside Patrese, and I have to say, I think Patrese drove into him. I'd like to see the replay, but Piquet was certainly behaving himself, and here we are now. Nelson Piquet comes alongside, and Patrese is squeezing Piquet and pushed him into the barrier. There's no doubt about that Patrese shut the door on Piquet, and Piquet's wheels got wheels flying off everywhere. The car actually finished up with only one wheel on, which is quite a good result, really.
And now, look, if we stay with the replay this long, to see Theo Fabi's Tolman appear into the picture with the Alfa Romeo on the right. And there is Niki Lauda's car. So Lauda has obviously spun at exactly the same place, and he's out of the race because they're getting the crane to lift Niki Lauda's car.
With all that excitement happening there, I would think that all the excitement put some oil down. So I would think that when Piquet and Patrese made contact, there was oil put onto the track. I'm looking down the track and I can't see any, but yes, the oil flag is going out, albeit rather late, but there is an oil flag at the first corner.
And with now definitely 8 out of the 20 cars out of the race on lap 18, let's look at the position. Well, leading is Alain Prost in the McLaren. In second position, despite his spin, is Michele Alboreto. Third is Elio De Angelis, who managed to keep going. Coming through now in fourth position, it is Keke Rosberg. As you look at the new race leader, Alain Prost, with Alboreto catching him. And he's coming up to Lafitte. He being Prost. Now, Jacques Lafitte is well down the field. He's in 12th position. And his car is a heavier one than De Cesaris's, his Ligier. And Alboreto is stung into action. He made a magnificent recovery on the 19th lap out of 78, and soon we're going to be seeing a really exciting battle for the lead between last year's winner, Prost, who takes Lafitte on the entrance to the swimming pool section, and Lafitte will undoubtedly let Alboreto through, and he does so, and you can see the gap yourself as Prost comes up to Jonathan Palmer in the Zach Speed car, and Palmer is now in 11th position.
Yes, it was a very quick spin by Alboreto because he only lost about 9 or 10 seconds on the road. But it's really livened the race up because these two, as we were saying just before all this excitement happened, they're the yellow and red striped flags. They are the oil flags to denote that, not necessarily oil, but you can in fact see that slippery patch there just as they turn into the corner at Saint-Devote. There's a big oil stick there, but not so much in the braking area. Anyway, it's livened up the race for us because we now have the two leaders, nose to tail, and Alboreto is definitely a man with a bit of adrenaline going around him. And there's Nelson Piquet looking pretty unhappy. He's walking back, and I think he'll feel more than a little bit miffed.
Round the portiere again, into the tunnel again. And as they go into the tunnel, the fourth place man, Keke Rosberg, has started his 23rd lap, going well in the Williams. Nigel Mansell is still running. Effectively, there are 9 people in the race out of the 20 who started. Those are the 9 who are all on the same lap, and they are Prost leading. There he is. Alboreto behind him second. De Angelis third. Rosberg is in 4th place. De Cesaris is 5th. Warwick is 6th. Mansell is 7th. In 8th position is Brundle, and Alboreto now has got an opportunity to get closer still to Alain Prost on acceleration as he comes through to complete his 23rd lap. And he's through! Michele Alboreto has done it, and at Saint-Devote on the new lap surges through and takes the lead back from Alain Prost. And look at the gap he's already extended over the Frenchman's McLaren. Michele Alboreto is without doubt the fastest man in the race and showing it.
That was a wonderful piece of driving, but Alboreto actually drove around the outside of Alain Prost, and it was also a very fine piece of driving from Prost because he saw what was happening. Here we are again. Now Prost has to really control his car very well, not to drive into Alboreto. Now, you'll see Prost lock his brakes a bit, trying to avoid Alboreto. Little puff of smoke there as he locks his brakes, and that was really outstanding driving by both of them.
That is Theo Fabi, out because of the crash of Saint-Devote, out after driving an exceptionally good race, Theo Fabi. Nigel Mansell behind these 3, driving a good race. He's only just out of the points, having scored points for 5th positions at both Portugal and San Marino. And as the race settles down a little on the 28th lap with 50 still to go, therefore it's a long, arduous and grueling race. And we look at the 4th, 5th and 6th men. Rosberg's in the Williams Honda, De Cesaris in the Ligier Renault, and Derek Warwick in the Renault-powered Renault. Ahead of them are Alboreto, Prost and De Angelis. And Prost is actually closing slowly on Alboreto. He's got the gap now down to 1.1 seconds. The lap before it was 1.6. The lap before that it was 1.6. And there's obviously something wrong with the accelerator or the brake or clutch pedals of Brundle's car in the pits. And Prost goes through. Prost retakes that lead from Michele Alboreto on lap 32.
And I think Alboreto's in some sort of trouble. Yes, he's slowed right down. So mechanical trouble for Michele Alboreto has put him out of the lead. He's got a puncture, maybe.
Yes, he's got a left rear puncture. He'll come into the pits now. Sorry, a right. And look at it. You see the car. The left rear is absolutely flat as Michele Alboreto tours into the pits, and he's signalling left rear. Now let's see how long this stop takes. The Ferrari pit personnel did not in fact practice changing wheels before the race.
Yes, and it showed too. The man with the jack for the rear was very slow indeed. So they're sticking him, are they doing the whole set? They've done the left side anyway, so out goes Alboreto, and although he'll have a job trying to catch Prost, he is very much still in the race. Now, it'll be interesting to... Right. Well, Alboreto has just driven out of the pit as Alain Prost went round the station hairpin, so he's about a third of a lap down. But if anything, De Angelis has now closed the gap a bit. So I don't know whether Prost's in trouble, but De Angelis is now moving into position and starting to catch Alain Prost. It could be just that we'll keep an eye on that gap, because it could be that Alboreto's slowing with the puncture caused the gap to close a little bit.
I'm not at all sure that it is, because I saw De Angelis just then, and he looked a lot closer to me than that 11 seconds that he was at one time. As Prost goes through, gets a clap from the French marshals to signify their pleasure. Now I've got the stopwatch running because Alain Prost has gone through. Now Martin Brundle comes up, and the gap between Alain Prost and Elio De Angelis is down to only 8 seconds. And De Angelis, the World Championship leader, is now charging. He is in second position. Prost is leading. In third position, at the present moment, it is Michele Alboreto. There is Alboreto back in the running, and he is ahead of Derek Warwick. And Rosberg is in fifth position. So there is the World Championship leader, Elio De Angelis, third in Brazil, fourth in Portugal, and of course the winner at San Marino after Alain Prost was disqualified for having an underweight car. Martin Brundle in the background has been lapped, but still going well. He's in 11th position. De Cesaris in third position in the lightweight Ligier with its Renault engine, and behind him Michele Alboreto, soon I think to be third, although De Cesaris is a notoriously difficult man to get past. Now he's closer than ever as he comes up to the Hotel de Paris. This could be his opportunity to come out of the slipstream of De Cesaris' car and get through on braking as they go down to Mirabeau. But De Cesaris shuts the door, but fails, and Alboreto goes through beautifully.
Well, that was a risky manoeuvre by Alboreto. Here we are. They're coming out of the casino square. The car goes very light there. Then a quick squirt and down onto the brakes very hard. And Alboreto came really from a long way behind. And I think it was a bit cheeky on Alboreto's part, having seen that again. Came from too far behind. But anyway, his progress now continues. So Michele Alboreto up into third place with plenty of daylight ahead of him to have a good run at the lead. And there, of course, are the two Williamses, and Mansell's starting a bit of a resurgence. Mansell now beginning to look for a way round his teammate. And I wonder how friendly they'll be about letting each other pass. Well, Mansell was quite friendly to Rosberg early in the race. But let's see if Rosberg will reciprocate. Well, Keke certainly wasn't helping him then.
The gap, by the way, between Warwick, who is in 5th place, and Rosberg, who is in 6th position, just ahead of Mansell there, is 19 seconds. So even if Mansell gets past Rosberg, which will take a bit of doing, he's going to have a big charge. And I'm wrong, he goes through. Rosberg actually lets him through. Keke must be unhappy about the performance of his car from the way he let his teammate Nigel Mansell through.
Yes, a little friendly wave of thanks from Nigel after he'd come through the corner there, just put a hand up. Acknowledged Keke's good manners, but I think Keke's probably in some sort of little mechanical trouble. Maybe his tires have gone off or something like that, because he's definitely slowed down.
Good season for Nigel Mansell. This is lap 52. That is Elio De Angelis in 2nd place. Ahead of him, race leader Alain Prost. Behind him, Alboreto, 17 seconds behind. 4th is De Cesaris. 5th is Derek Warwick. 6th but lapped is Nigel Mansell. 7th is Rosberg. 8th is Lafitte. And into the pits there, then, Keke Rosberg. We thought it was brake trouble, but he's out of the pits again. Race leader Alain Prost seemingly on his way to his 2nd Monaco Grand Prix win in 2 years. And in spite of going into the pits, Keke Rosberg did not lose a place. Elio De Angelis is about to be caught by the 3rd place man, Michele Alboreto, in the Ferrari. But how difficult is Alboreto going to find it to get past De Angelis? And it's going to be a tremendously exciting thing for the World Championship at the end of this race. Jonathan Palmer, stationary. And that gives Alboreto the chance to close right up on De Angelis. Jonathan Palmer spun at San Devos on the 60th lap. Accelerates away in his Zach speed. And now, Alboreto right on the rear wing of De Angelis' JPS. Behind them, as Alboreto goes through and takes that 2nd position in as stirring a passing manoeuvre, getting past De Angelis and San Devos as he had earlier on when he was the race leadership from Prost.
Here we see it again, and again, Alboreto, I think he sold Elio De Angelis a bit of a dummy and jumps him down the inside, and that was very good driving. Really, Alboreto has put on the most entertaining and stirring display today.
Now it is definitely starting to rain lightly, nothing like the heavy pouring rain that we had last year. Prost on the descent, and the gap now is 22 seconds.
Yes, so Prost's memory is certainly working for him. He saw the spots of rain on his visor. That's how he would have known it was raining. And look at that smoke. It's getting quite smoky out of the back of the McLaren. Yes, and he had a bit of a slide then through Rascasse. He caught it well, but that may just be oil coming out of the car to his rear tyres.
Yes, you saw it then. Alain Prost is about to, if he finishes this lap, not only win, but give himself another 9 World Championship points to make it 18 altogether, and that will give him equal World Championship 2nd rating with Michele Alboreto charging hard in 3rd position, but the championship leadership will still be held by Elio De Angelis, adding 4 points to the points he already has, 16, 20 in all. But this is the man. Prost leads on the last lap. Alboreto 2nd. De Angelis 3rd. De Cesaris still 4th. Warwick 5th. Mansell 6th. There's Prost. And Lafitte is now up into 6th position, ahead of Nigel Mansell. It looks as though Nigel Mansell is not, after all, going to get that cherished one World Championship point. But here is the leader, here is the winner, Alain Prost in the Barbara McLaren with the tag engine for the 2nd year in succession, wins the Monaco Grand Prix. He will jam on his brakes, I'm sure, because he will want to make sure that his car is not underweight, as it was adjudged to be at San Marino, but he's going to go on and do that victory lap. So, victory for the 2nd year in succession for Alain Prost from Michele Alboreto, with Elio De Angelis 3rd, Andrea De Cesaris 4th, Derek Warren 5th, Jacques Lafitte in 6th position, and Nigel Mansell in 7th place. Martin Brundle was 10th in the non-turbo Tyrrell, and Jonathan Palmer 11th in the German Zack-Speed, his first finish in this new car.
Yeah, it does seem strange, actually, having come to the hardest track to actually qualify and do my first Grand Prix. It was very hard work, but the most difficult thing was the fact that the car, I've never actually driven the car for more than 10 laps before, and that revealed some quite interesting problems.
You spun at one point. What happened?
Well, we're getting more and more turbo lag as I was going on, which is something that we expected really, and I just had to throw the car in more and more to each of the corners and try and get on the power early, and I just threw it in a bit too hard and I lost it, my own fault.
Well, we've got Spa in 2 weeks' time. I've no doubt that you've learned a lot from the car.
Yeah, the team know they've got quite a lot of work to do now, and we're hopefully getting a better result at Spa.
Martin Brundle, 10th. What problems did you have?
About after 30 laps, I lost my brakes, unfortunately, which spoils your sense of humour for a couple of laps, I'm afraid. But that was a leak on the rear cylinder, which we were able to fix, so I lost a couple of laps. And the car went very well. It's been perfect all weekend. Very, very pleased.
Martin, last year here at Monaco, you had a very nasty crash through no fault of your own. At Imola, you had a bad crash. You must have recovered your confidence.
Yes, I needed to. After Imola, my confidence was a little bit down, but here was very good. I had a good practice and a good race now. I'm very happy.
So, what about the new car? When are we going to see Martin Brundle in the Tyrrell Renault Turbo?
Well, we're testing in a couple of weeks, and it much depends on how the testing goes, as to how quickly we race. Probably Paul Ricard at France, or maybe the British Grand Prix, but it's only 4 or 6 weeks away now, thank God.
So all the 4 British drivers finished, and that's the first time for a long time they've done that. Neither Brundle nor Palmer figured in the World Championship points, of course, and Elio De Angelis now leads the championship, 2 points ahead of Prost and Alboreto, tying for 2nd. In 4th place, Patrick Tambay, 5th, Ayrton Senna, 6th, Thierry Boutsen, and Nigel Mansell is 7th. In the Constructors' Championship, John Player Special Lotus still lead, 29 points ahead of Ferrari 2nd, McLaren 3rd, and Renault in 4th position. Another, as ever, exciting and dramatic Monaco Grand Prix, which leads us on to Belgium at Spa in 2 weeks' time. Join us there.